Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for you for September 25th. Yesterday was nice and quiet, so I got to watch wrestling and post a wrestling review on the other channel. Today, it's going to be a hockey review on the hockey channel. And so today, what we're going to talk about is who's going to be hurt and all that sort of stuff. And we're on the verge of starting to see guys getting waived, getting sent to the minors, getting sent to juniors, all that other wonderful stuff, and having the board filled with players who don't make the team and fans on the internet getting mad about who didn't make the team and who did. Hoffman is not going to be part of the conversation for Montreal for up to 4 weeks to start off the season. So Mike Hoffman, one of the centerpiece signings for the Montreal Canadiens, he's out. Shea Weber is staying home in Kelowna. He will have appearances in Montreal, not as a player, but he'll be there at times during the season. But yeah, so Hoffman's going to be out for a month. They need goals. So Caulfield, I understand Caulfield's going to be, the favorite to win the Calder and all that, but he's going to need some help as well. I don't know if people have noticed, but Caulfield's one of the smaller players, and if you could just key on him all night, he's not going to have any room. So they're going to need some more goals from, say, Brendan Gallagher, who was on the ice today. So they needed Gallagher to have a bit of a bounce back year from what he had last year. So for Montreal, we'll see what happens. In Seattle, they're talking about how Drieger was brought out as like, here's our goalie, and they signed him to a good contract. And then they bring in Grubauer. Now Grubauer and Drieger are both publicly saying the right things. They like each other, they get along, and they're ready to share the net. And here's the thing. Grubauer has been a starter in Colorado, but he's always been viewed as more of probably a 1A. Now, he was nominated for the Vezina. He was a Vezina finalist last year, but I don't think Grubauer is, seen as one of the top 5 goalies in the league. And for Drieger, he had a very good season for Florida, but before last year, right? So I really don't think there's going to be an ego problem in the Seattle net. I think they've done a good job of putting together a tandem that should steal them some games. So looking forward to seeing how that turns out. They start to play, of course, tomorrow in Spokane against the Vancouver Canucks. Tomas Hertl said that he's not concerned with his contract. Doug Wilson, the GM, may be a little bit more concerned than Hertl, because Hertl's going to get his money next year either way. Hertl extension talks with his agent have begun on the San Jose side. So it sounds like San Jose's initiated the contact to try to get the contract going, because if they were to lose Hertl next summer, that would hurt, right? This is a team that wants to stay competitive and everything, and losing Hertl for nothing as a free agent would be tough. And you have to ask yourself, if San Jose finds themselves as far out of the playoff picture as most are prognosticating that they will, if Hertl's not signed to a contract at the trade deadline, does Wilson try to keep him, or does Wilson move him? My guess is Wilson would probably move him, but San Jose can be very unpredictable. Some interesting news with camp. So I mentioned in the preview this morning that there will be some hype for rookies that doesn't necessarily pan out, but there's always some interesting late bloomers that get into the conversation. So out of the Islanders camp, you have Anatoly Golishev coming in, and he's been on the top line with Anders Lee and Matthew Barzal. So keep an eye on that and see if that's still the case after the first couple of preseason games, right? That's really where the rubber hits the road. Do these guys still stay on those lines? That's why yesterday when I went to the Canucks game, the Canucks scrimmage, and I was watching white versus blue, I paid attention to who was on what line. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but I didn't write it down and come report on it because things are going to change between now and opening night. So this is really when teams just throw whoever out there and go, we'll see if this works. Speaking of which, the Toronto Maple Leafs looking to fill that gap left by the exit of Zach Hyman, who the Oilers are hoping can be just as effective for them as he was for Toronto. Nick Ritchie's getting a shot on that top line with Marner and Matthews. That's the plan right now anyways. And Michael Bunting on the second line with John Tavares. So I think Kerfoot's on the other wing there. So it'll be interesting to see if Bunting and Ritchie get those top 2 spots. Now, I know people will point out that Nick Ritchie's not a first-line center. I would counter with Zach Hyman probably isn't a first-line center on a lot of or first-line left winger on a lot of teams either. So it really can be a matter of sometimes a player just falls into the right spot, ends up on a top line, and does pretty well. And Bunting on the second line, if he can play as well in Toronto as he was playing in Arizona after they called him up last year, That's going to be pretty good. But again, that's a spot that Toronto wanted to shore up. And this is when you find out how well you've actually done in shoring up that position. And then if these guys both flop in those roles, Kyle Dubas might look to do something with waiver wire or something. And of course, we'll see when Matthews comes back into the lineup, which he's set to do. He was on the ice today, which seems to mean that he's a little bit ahead of schedule. So if he can come back before we finish out the preseason and we get a better idea of things, we'll see. But it looks like Nick Ritchie's going to get a chance for some primo playing time. And yeah, playing with Marner, you just kind of have to be in the right spot. Marner's one of the best passers in the game. And for the record, Marner's been working on his shot over the summer as well, so that'll make Toronto fans happy too. Another good training camp story so far, and again, these training camp stories, some of them just hit a wall. Jesper Froden in Boston. He's been with Bergeron and Marchand in camp. Now, the expectation, of course, is Pastrnak will be back on that line, but playing devil's advocate with this news, I look at this and say, you know what? Boston's problem has been one thing. They have one scoring line. They haven't had two scoring lines consistently for a long time. So if they can if Froden has some, and I can't wait for all the Frodo chants, that'll be great. But if Froden has, chemistry with Bergeron and Marchand, if you can drop Pastrnak onto that second line, you can have two good scoring lines. You can have them, Pastrnak and Haller on that second line. And Studnicka is at least going to get a shot at being the number 2 center. That's what they're talking about too. Boston could be a lot more dangerous than I've given them credit for in the previews. Season preview, I really think 4th is probably where they finish in the Atlantic. But if Froden can make this work, and if they do have two scoring lines, that could go a long way to them being better than my anticipated rankings would put them, which I'm perfectly fine with. And we'll see. Speaking of ratings that may end up being in some danger, there's Pittsburgh, where Crosby is out, Malkin's out. Now, Malkin's going to miss the first 2 months. Crosby is supposed to be back about a week into the season, right? So they shouldn't be crippled down the middle for very long. But to start out, they kind of are. Jeff Carter becomes the number 1 center in Pittsburgh for likely the first week of the season. As a second-line center, I think, okay. But as a first-line center, it just shows there's really not the depth there in Pittsburgh right now. So Radim Zohorna may end up occupying that role. I thought maybe Teddy Bluger would get into that role, but Radim Zohorna, who I was impressed with at points last year, he didn't play that many games for them, but he's been skating between Jason Zucker and Kasperi Kapanen, with Carter playing that first-line center spot because Malkin and Crosby are out. And Kapanen taking a picture for his headshot, which is to echo that of the departed Brandon Tanev. Brandon Tanev deciding to go full-on crazy in this year's picture for Seattle. So I really hope those are the actual headshots, that we don't see just some other generic version. And then there was even one collage I saw put together that just shows side by side every headshot for Brandon Tanev from his rookie year until now. And you can see his hair is gradually getting longer and he's gradually looking more and more crazy. So, yeah, there you go. There's your news of the day for Saturday, September 25th, the day where we see hockey come back with a couple of preseason games tonight. And again, the Montreal-Toronto games on Sportsnet. Don't be entirely surprised when not all the games are televised. Preseason's like that. Not every game is on TV. I'm mildly surprised by that, but not every game's on TV. So we'll catch what we can when we can, right? All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.